What's going on, guys? T-Mart here, and today I'm bringing you guys the Black Ops 2 tips and tricks video, or it's kind of a tips and tricks video. I'm not exactly sure what to call it, but it's really interesting nonetheless. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. So, anyway, as you can see by the title of this video, we're going to be talking about how to win more gunfights, or just really how to do better in multiplayer, how to have a better experience, get better scores, etc., etc. And I'm not going to be giving you guys actual tips like how to aim better or get more shots on target or anything like that. We're going to be talking more on the network side of things, the internet connectivity side of things, and even more specifically about kind of lag and lag compensation, because there's a lot of huge misconceptions about lag compensation, and I actually talked with a Treyarch developer this weekend about it, and he gave me like a quick rundown of how it works and, you know, what exactly it is and things like that. And because nobody has ever really known exactly what it is, I wanted to share it with you guys because it's pretty cool. So keep in mind, it's obviously a very intricate process, and it's a lot more complex than what I'm about to tell you guys. But what we're about to talk about is just kind of like the basic dumbed down version that most people can understand, including myself. I mean, I'm no network genius or anything like that. So this is what he told me. He said basically lag and like lag compensation, that stuff is the communication time from player to host to another player, and the communication time is a time that it takes like your Xbox to send information about where you are, what you're doing, you know, if you threw a grenade or whatever, to the host Xbox, and then the host Xbox to respond. And obviously there's always going to be that delay time there. I mean, until computers can communicate with each other in real time with no delay, there's always going to be lag, and there's always going to be lag compensation there. So you know, that's unfortunate, but it's just a fact of life. And you know, he gave me a brief example. So say there's a host Xbox, and this host Xbox is the Xbox that the game is running on. That is real time, you know, that's current time. Then there's your Xbox, and say you have a really good connection. Say you're like 50 milliseconds behind. You know, I'm not exactly sure how far you would be behind, but 50 is an easy number. So you're 50 milliseconds behind the host Xbox because you have to communicate with it. So technically, you are literally always in the past. You are, you know, consistently 50 milliseconds behind everything that's happening in the game. And then say there's another player in the game on your team, on the enemy team, whatever it is, and say he has a pretty bad connection. Say he's 150 milliseconds behind. So then you have the host Xbox that's in current time. You're 50 milliseconds in the past. This guy's 150 milliseconds in the past, yet you're 100 milliseconds in the future from him. So, I mean, it starts to get kind of complicated, but basically, nobody is ever on that same time frame. They're in the current time in their reality, but in the actual, you know, world of the game, everybody's in the future and in the past, and, you know, things like that. Nobody's ever actually on the same time, which is why weird things happen. Like sometimes bullets don't register. Sometimes it seems like you were already around the corner, yet somebody still kills you. You know, those curving wanted bullets or whatever. You know, that stuff, it happens sometimes because not everybody is on the same time frame, or, you know, not everybody is in the current time because of these internet connections. And there's really nothing that can be done. I mean, they're always working to try to pick the best host possible, or make these, you know, differences as unnoticeable as possible, but until everybody in the world has the best internet connection and can all connect to each other, there's no strict NAT types or anything like that, then there's really nothing that these game developers can do to fully fix it. So anyway, let's talk about some of the advantages and disadvantages you can have depending on your connection. So if you have a bad connection, you really have everything going against you except one thing, and that's sometimes you're going to be able to shoot people around corners. You know, those wanted perk bullets where you're running around the corner and somebody shoots you even though you're already around that corner. So let's talk about how this works. Player 1 is a person running around the corner with a decent connection. Player 2 is a person shooting at them that doesn't have as good of a connection. So how it works is Player 1 on his Xbox, he's already around that corner, but Player 2, because he doesn't have that good of a connection, he has to wait for Player 1's Xbox to send the information that he's around the corner to the host, and then to Player 2. And because Player 2 is so far in the past, sometimes that information doesn't get there in time. So on Player 2's Xbox, even though in real time Player 1 is already around that corner, on Player 2's Xbox, he's not around that corner yet. That's how that works. That's why sometimes you get shot around corners. And you know, that's obviously unfortunate, but that's the only advantage you have when you have a bad connection. When you have a good connection, pretty much everything else goes in your favor. Anytime you're shooting at somebody, or, you know, attacking somebody or anything like that, whenever you challenge people, you're going to have the advantage. So let's go into another example. Another thing that I see in multiplayer sometimes, and I'm sure a lot of you guys see, is sometimes you'll be sitting there and another player will come around the corner and shoot you before you really even see them. I mean, it seems like they came around that corner and were invisible for a second, and then all of a sudden you're dead. And it's like, whoa, where'd that guy come from? I never even saw him. How this works is, again, player 1 has a good connection, player 2 has a bad connection. They're both coming to the same corner to shoot each other. They're coming at each other. Player 1, since he's as current as possible, he comes around that corner and he is already around that corner. He's already looking at player 2. Yet his Xbox has to send that information again to the host and then to player 2. And because player 2 is so far in the past, sometimes it takes too long for that information to get there, and player 1's already shooting at him. So that's why it seems like sometimes somebody's coming around the corner and they're already shooting at you before you even see them. So that's how that works. You know, yes, it is kind of unfortunate that that stuff happens, but honestly, we can't complain about it too much because it's insane that we can play this game from across the country and across the world together and not have worse problems than those happening occasionally. You know, it's out of the game developer's hand. It's not, you know, like they're making a bad game. It's the internet. It's the connectivity between people. They can't do anything about it except try to make it as least noticeable as possible. And obviously that's what they do. But anyway, there are some things you can do to have this work in your favor. You kind of told me a few things that you can make sure you do to kind of win more gunfights, do better in games, you know, be ahead of everybody else. Try to be as close to that current time as possible. So, number 1, the biggest advantage you can have is to be the host of a game. You know, when you're the host of a game, you are as close to the current time as possible. Literally everybody else in the game is in the past from you, so you always have a slight advantage. And it's not a huge advantage, it's just it's a slight advantage. So if you can be the host as much as possible, that's going to be in your favor. Now, how can you be the host as much as possible? Get a better internet connection. The better internet connection you have, the more times the game is going to pick you as the host, because more people can connect to you, and it's going to make it a fair game for everybody, or, you know, as close to fair as you can possibly get. So if you get a good connection, it'll pick you for host more, as well as you'll connect to other hosts better. You won't be quite as far in the past as everybody else. So the better internet connection you have, obviously the better you're going to do, because you're going to be ahead of most people in the game, if not everybody. So that's obviously a good thing. Now, another thing you can do, you know, you don't necessarily need the best internet connection in the world to play Call of Duty, but sometimes you don't get what you pay for. He said this often happens, and there are a lot of people that don't understand this. So make sure what you're paying your ISP is coming to your house. You know, if you're paying for a 20x2 or whatever, make sure you're getting that 20x2. ISP companies can lie. There can be faulty connections or wires in between your house and, you know, where the internet is coming from, so make sure that stuff works out. And then also, you can have a bad modem or router. He said this happens all the time. The internet coming into the house is what you're paying for, but because you have an outdated router or an outdated modem, then it kind of dumbs it down. It can't support that much internet coming in at the same time. And then you aren't getting what you should be getting. So make sure all of your equipment is up to date. Make sure you're actually getting what you're paying for. You can use sites like speedtest.net and stuff, and that way you're going to have better connections and have a better experience in Call of Duty. Now, another thing you can do is turn off the theater recordings. So this was kind of a rumor that a lot of people didn't know if it worked, but he said it's not going to help you all the time, but sometimes theater recording does take up more bandwidth. So if you don't necessarily have a good connection, you can turn theater recording off. It's going to improve it a little bit, so that'll help you out. And then finally, he said, just in general, be aggressive. The game favors the aggressive person. You know, if you're coming around the corner, and even if you have a worse connection, if you're the aggressive one, if you're shooting first and stuff like that, it's going to favor you over the person with the good connection, because you're the one that's being aggressive. It doesn't really matter what connection you have. So don't sit back, don't be docile, don't wait for people to come to you. Be aggressive, and the server is actually going to favor you. So I thought that stuff was pretty good advice. Now, the last thing I want to leave you guys with is another thing he told me that's pretty important, because a lot of people get really frustrated with looking at kill cams, and they're like, that's not actually what happened. Well, now we have the answer. The kill cams and like theater mode and stuff in this game are what the server saw. It might not be exactly what happened on your screen, but it's what the server saw. So, you know, like sometimes in the kill cam, somebody kills you and you look like a derp walking around. You're, you know, kind of completely out of cover, looking like an idiot, whereas on your screen, you were hunkered down behind cover. That's because it doesn't look at what you saw on your screen. It looks at what your Xbox sent to the server. So again, there's that communication delay time. Sometimes what's in the kill cam or what's in theater mode isn't exactly what happened on your Xbox. It's what your Xbox sent to the server. So, yeah, those delay times, screw those things. I mean, that's why we die sometimes when we shouldn't have, or get kills that we shouldn't have, or the kill cams are different and things like that. You know, it's out of the developer's control. They do their best to try to kind of make this as non-existent as possible, but it's always going to be there because, you know, our technology is just not to that point yet. So you can try to make it work for you. Try to get the host as much as possible, get the best internet connection possible, turn off theater recording so you're not wasting any bandwidth, and overall be aggressive, and you're going to win more gunfights because the game and the servers and everything favor the aggressive people. So thank you all for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Bunch of great videos coming soon. Peace out.